he'd do anything for me. He'd do anything for the kids.
4 months ago, there was hope. Jason Kelk, the man who had been hospitalised by COVID longer than anyone else in the country, took his first few steps since being admitted to hospital in March 2020. But it was ultimately to be a cruelly false hope. His wife Sue says that last month, after Jason contracted 2 infections and suffered a relapse which saw him having to be put back onto a ventilator, he decided he'd had enough.
He couldn't do the things he was doing. He got more and more depressed, more and more fed up with everything. Nobody could tell him what was going to happen, you know, whether he'd get back to where he was, and if he did, how long for. And I think he just couldn't take it anymore. He just didn't want to. He just gave up, really. I think he'd fought so hard for so long, and he just couldn't face doing it again.
Jason, a 49-year-old IT professional at a primary school in Leeds, had underlying health conditions, asthma and type 2 diabetes. He knew his best prognosis would still mean a tracheostomy, limited physical exertion and dialysis. But for months, he fought on.
I really didn't know he had it in him. He's always been a bit of a wimp, really, as far as, you know, if he got ill, it was dramatic, you know, he was dying. And, you know, when he really was and when he really needed to, he found strength from somewhere. And unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
Jason was admitted to St James's intensive care unit at about the same time that Derek Draper, the husband of TV presenter Kate Garraway, was also hospitalised. Mr Draper has thankfully now been allowed home to continue his recovery.
With long COVID, it seems that we're seeing an emerging population of about 10 to 20% of people who've had COVID-19 who develop longer-term symptoms. Going forward, we have to define a set of criteria where we can actually then assign a diagnosis, a label of long COVID to these types of patients, to the exclusion of other things like hay fever or other chronic fatigue syndrome related causes. And then we can then develop a treatment program for them.
After over 14 months of hoping and caring for Jason, his death has been a devastating blow for his widow and stepfamily. But Sue says the memories of her soulmate and of his bravery in his final hours will last forever. Frazer, Maude, Sky News.